Hope you're having a good day. My name is Hali Nurnberg, and I'm a local licensed professional counselor and mental health therapist. I have a degree in international disaster psychology from the University of Denver and specialize in individual and community trauma, resilience, and disaster preparedness. I'm here today to speak a little bit about current events that are affecting our community. As you know, a novel coronavirus has swept the world, leading to economic downturn and industry closure and a statewide stay-at-home order. According to a recent Forbes article, 36% of Americans reported that these events have impacted their mental health and well-being. So today, I'm here to share some strategies and tips on how to care for our mental well-being in these uncertain times. Tip 1. Be kind to others. In the past few weeks, we have all lost a sense of normalcy. For some, this has been a loss of job and income and a loss of routine. For some, it's been a loss of social connection and support. For others, it's the loss of ability to engage in hobbies that bring us joy. What we are experiencing is a collective psychological trauma. Psychological trauma occurs when the event overwhelms our ability to cope. This threshold may be different for each individual, but there's no doubt that our society as a whole has been impacted. It is said that in a disaster, the vast majority of people may temporarily experience some symptoms of anxiety, depression, or other mental health difficulties. But the majority of us return to normalcy shortly after the event ends. Those of us at higher risk are those with pre-existing mental health conditions and other risk factors such as isolation. When we are in a traumatic situation, it alters the ability of our brain to function in a normal way. Trauma activates the part of our brain that's geared towards survival and shuts down the parts of our brain that are used for logic, communication, memory, impulse control, and decision-making. It initiates the fight, flight, freeze response, which may evoke feelings and behaviors of anger, panic, avoidance, numbness that are outside of our control. These situations cause each individual to react differently. We can see that, as in the past few weeks, some people responded early and quickly, while others are reluctant to change their behavior. All of this is normal. Another normal response to trauma is to focus entirely on self-preservation. In this process, we tend to become more tribal and focus on protecting those who feel like they are part of us, while we target, maybe unconsciously, those who feel different than us. This can create unnecessary tension, aggression, and even sometimes violence. And given that this is a collective event, these automatic responses do not serve us and instead hinder our ability to be resilient both as individuals and as a community. When we focus on our individual experience, we can often feel that we're the victim of current events. And by shifting our perspective to recognize the collective experience, we understand that these experiences are really not personal and that we have a great power to make a positive contribution. This realization is key to mental well-being. What all of this means is it's likely that a good number of people we're interacting with on a daily basis are experiencing strong emotion and are acting out of the survival part of their brain. When we know this, we can give them grace, accept their imperfection, not take their behavior personally or our experience personally, and show kindness. So, tip number 1, be kind towards others. Tip 2, be kind to yourself. Many of us have gone through a lot of change in a very short amount of time. For some, this may mean that we're suddenly working from home while helping our kids complete online school or homeschool, trying to maintain our job, trying to make the house clean and food on the table and make ends meet. For others, this may mean that we're suddenly making tough decisions about who we can spend time with and who we can't, or about which bills get paid this week. With all of this, the expectations that we had for ourselves just a month ago may no longer be realistic. We may not be able to be our best selves at work, or be the most present or patient family member. Or run our household in the same way that we used to. That's okay. It's okay to not be normal right now. The world's not normal. Setting our expectations too high sets ourselves up for failure and negative feelings. Allow yourself space to be human. Look at what is reasonable and what your priorities are and let the rest go. Accept yourself as you are in this moment. Next, make sure that you're actively caring for yourself. This means set and stick to a routine. Eat healthy and regular meals, as much as you can anyway. Get some sleep. Try not to oversleep or undersleep. Go outside. Move your body. Walk, run, do yoga, lift weights, crunches on the floor, watching online videos. Whatever works for you, just get some movement in. Drink some water. If you can, if you have time, try learning something new or returning to an old hobby. There are a ton of free resources out there. And if you have time to take advantage of them, it can be helpful. I know the Daily Sentinel has been creating a list as part of their newsletter. That's a good place to start. Finally, take time to be quiet, whether in prayer or meditation, or just listening to calming music or nature sounds. Maybe even a bath with your favorite candle. All of these are good ways to let go of the stress we may be feeling. Often things that are sensory, that take up our sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell, can help us relax. So, comforting scents, sounds, movements, textures, sights, foods are a great way to regulate emotion and create emotional safety. Which brings us to tip number 3. Be safe. For those of you familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know that this is one of the base layers, and without it, nothing else is possible. When I talk about safety, I mean both physical and emotional safety. To create physical safety in this time, one of the best things we can do is make sure that we are following the guidelines set out by our public health agencies, such as staying home as much as possible, keeping a social distance, wearing a mask, and washing our hands. For mental or emotional safety, that might be different for everyone. For some, it might be finding a place in your house that is quiet or where you can take some time for yourself. It might mean actively communicating with the people you live with to say, when do we need space and when do we need support? For others, it might mean limiting news and social media intake. Both of these can be triggers that create a sense of emotional unsafety or insecurity. And limiting the amount of time we spend taking them in can be helpful. It's important to stay informed, but after the initial information, every repeat of it is just an emotional trigger for us. When we do seek out information, make sure it's from a reliable source that's free of emotional triggers and spin to the extent possible. Locally, Mesa County's Public Health Department is a great resource to get information about what's happening here. If you're finding that you're overwhelmed by some news, see what you can do to change the format in which you get it. So for example, if the video is stressful, try reading an article, or maybe even just listening to it without the video. Unfortunately, in situations like this, already dangerous situations may be exacerbated due to stress increase and people being stuck in close quarters without productive outlets. This may mean that rates of domestic violence, child abuse, and suicide all may increase. If you or a loved one is in an emergency, call 911. Otherwise, the Colorado Crisis Line is a great starting place and is staffed by therapists who have a large database of resources statewide. If you are having thoughts of hurting or killing yourself or others, you're not alone. Please reach out. If you're in a domestic violence or abusive situation, a great local resource is Latimer House. Tip 4, connect. Social connection is one of the keys to getting through difficult times. Human beings are social creatures, and our brains are wired to find comfort and security in trusting social relationships. One of the difficult things about this time is that our ability to access these networks may feel limited. However, social distancing does not mean emotional distancing. With technology, our ability to keep emotional connection is greater than ever before. There are a ton of platforms for video chatting, playing online games, and watching movies with friends. Whether online or via a simple phone call, make sure to regularly connect with those you love and care about. Standing dates can be helpful to keep up this routine. Tip 5. Help others. In studies done on mental resilience in response to community-wide disasters, they found that people who feel that they have the ability to help others often have more stable mental health outcomes in the long run. This tip reflects tip number 1 of being kind, but takes it a step further. Helping others can give us a sense of meaning and purpose and remind us of our individual agency and strength. Some ideas of how to help others include homemaking masks, offer to go grocery shopping for somebody in need, checking in on others, joining a mutual aid group, volunteering, donating blood, donating money or supplies, and supporting a local business. HelpColoradoNow.org is a good way to start on these. For those of you who are around children, taking extra time to support them is also an important way to help. Depending on the age of the child, they may not have the ability to clearly express how these changes are impacting them. And whatever they're feeling is likely to come out in their play or in behavior changes. They're not necessarily being bad and might just need some extra time to help them express what they're feeling. In times of change, a routine can reinforce a feeling of structure, predictability, safety, and trust that's extra important for children at this time. So even if their school schedule has changed, try to keep bedtime and other elements of their routine going. Tip 6, focus on what you can control. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. In Mesa County, we're unsure of how many cases we'll get and what the impact on our health system will be. We don't know how long we'll be told to stay home, and we don't know what this may mean for our finances, employment, or future. With uncertainty often comes feeling of fear, distress, and maybe vulnerability. While there's much outside of our control, there's still much within it. Every tip on here is something that we can do to build up feelings of control and safety. The more we're able to feel like we can make a difference, the more safe and stable we feel, and the more mentally healthy we are. Shifting our focus to something like doing the laundry, cooking dinner, cleaning, or baking can help us regain that sense of normalcy and safety. In regards to everything outside of your control, try to remain as open and flexible as possible. This means that you might be able to respond a little bit more quickly and a little bit more positively. One way to do this is to find a sense of meaning in what's happening right now. For some, that might be a religious or spiritual process, or it might not. But ask yourself, is there a lesson that can be learned or a change I want to make? Can I reconnect to something that gives me a sense of that meaning or purpose? Of course, remember that my conclusion might not be the same as everybody else's, and that's fine. Be kind to those who we don't agree with. Tip 7, last tip, practice gratitude. Gratitude is a wonderfully healing emotion as it helps balance our mind. We naturally have a negativity bias that wants to focus on everything that feels scary. While at times this can help us avoid danger, often our attention to negative experiences and possibilities creates an unbalanced assessment of what's happening. By intentionally recognizing the good things in our life, we can get out of that negative mindset. These good things do not have to be huge, and not often are simple things like the smell of a rainstorm, the sun on a warm spring day, that first sip of coffee in the morning, connecting with somebody we love, watching a pet, or eating a good meal. A simple way to practice gratitude is to list 3 things every day that you're grateful for. Gratitude also helps us put our experience in perspective and recognize the areas where we are fortunate or blessed. We can also intentionally build our connection to good experience and positive emotion through things like playing games, finding humor, and laughing. Each of these releases endorphins and helps us connect to positive emotion. Finally, 7 tips for coping. Be kind to others. Be kind to yourself. Be safe. Connect. Help others. Focus on what you can control and practice gratitude. Remember, hang in there. This is temporary, and this is not normal. And you're not alone. Even if it may feel like it, we're all in this together. If you or someone you know is struggling, seek professional help. Many local therapists have switched to teletherapy options and are continuing to take new clients. Also, remember that we do return to a sense of normal, and that even if we go beyond a sense of resilience, there may be an opportunity for growth. There's a term we call post-traumatic growth, which says that the difficult experiences in our life actually make us better. So, it's been a pleasure. I hope this has been helpful. And I hope that together we can make this a growing community. Thank you.